We are less than 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL season. So, how many teams could actually win the Super Bowl? We're talking about that and much more. It's the Jake Asman Football Show live in Vegas, and it starts right now.
Oh, yeah. It's the Jake Asman Football Show. Brought to you by BetUS. Sign up now and triple your bonus. That's 125%. Now let's get into some NFL football. Presented by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And here's your host, Jake Asman.
Oh, yeah, baby. My name is Jake Asman. You know that if you watch the show. Football fans, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and thank you to BetUS for being our presenting sponsor. We're live at Circa Las Vegas here inside their convention center ballroom at the Radio Row. A bunch of outlets gathering throughout the country to come out here at Circa. We got a ton to talk about on this show. Cole Thompson joining me, longtime NFL reporter and analyst. And Cole, simple question we're going to kind of go through. Every team wants to win the Super Bowl. There's only a handful of teams every year that actually have a legitimate chance to win a Super Bowl. I want to start with this. To me, the criteria in order to have a shot at winning a championship is you either have a franchise quarterback that can do it or you don't. Any team that can't say yes to that question is basically, in my mind, ineligible to win a championship, ineligible to be on the list of being a Super Bowl contender.
Well, for starters, happy Hawaiian Friday. Number two, absolutely, you need a franchise quarterback. Everyone knows you are made in the trenches and you are made at the quarterback position. Ultimately, sometimes you can work your way out of finding ways to not have the best offensive line because the quarterback will step up. He'll deliver the clean strikes. He'll find his way to the end zone. He'll be fantastic. You'll have the right wide receivers. You'll have a defense that bails you out. But if you don't have the quarterback, you have nothing. So easily, if you do not have a franchise quarterback or somebody that you believe elevates your team, somebody that you can win with, or mostly someone you can win because of, you feel pretty good about your chances.
Look, when you break down the list of teams, I think you just have to start with the quarterback here. So all these odds we're going to go through are courtesy of BetUS Sportsbook. Folks, use my link in the description and sign up, and you can place some future bets with BetUS. Once again, 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 with your first three deposits. So these are BetUS lines that we're going to be looking at here. I'm going to do a little screen share, so stand by with me, folks. Looks a little clunky right now, but now you guys should all be able to see my screen. Here we go. The favorite to win the whole thing right now is the San Francisco 49ers at plus 600. Now, I don't know how you feel about Brock Purdy. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know if he is great, but the Niners are like the one exception to me where like maybe they don't have the top 10 quarterback necessarily, but the team and the coach is so good. I have no issue with the Niners being in the conversation. No issue with the Niners even being listed as the betting favorite right now. I'm cool with the Niners being in the conversation for sure as a legit Super Bowl contender.
Let me ask you, if there was ever a scenario where John Lynch walks into Kyle Shanahan's office and goes, hey, you made this work with the Mr. Irrelevant pick. If we let him walk, would you be able to do it again? Because that's the way the offense is catered. Now, I will say, at this point, you got to give credit where credit's due. Purdy is delivered. Purdy has over-exceeded expectations. Purdy looks the part, and he's developed into this offense to now take it to a new level in a way that Kyle Shanahan has always wanted. But they got the defense. They have one of the best defensive front sevens in the NFL. Even though they are without Dre Greenlaw this year, they bring in Devondre Campbell. That is an exceptional addition to the defensive front seven. He pairs extremely well with Fred Warner. I love the secondary. You're going to get Hufanga back fully healthy this year. You have two great cornerbacks. You have arguably the best wide receiver that's not being named in the NFL in Deebo Samuel. People seem to forget about the way they utilize him. You have Weapon X in Christian McCaffrey. You still have a stable offensive line. Has it taken some lumps over the last few years? Yeah, of course it has. But you have arguably the best left tackle to protect your franchise quarterback. And for at least now, Brandon Ayuk's not going anywhere. They're the favorites for a reason, and they should be. This feels like the year it has to get done. And it always feels like that. The only question is, can you close out a game with the last 30 minutes if you make it to the final showdown?
Looking at the list, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time talking about the Chiefs. They're going for the three-peat. I wouldn't pick them just because I'm fading history. It's never happened, which is why I'm not betting the Chiefs to win the whole thing. But Chiefs clearly in the list of contenders. How do you feel about the Ravens? Obviously, you got to put them here with Lamar, but I wouldn't bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl until I actually see Lamar Jackson come through in the playoffs. I need to see it, man. The regular season success is great, but until proven otherwise, to me, Lamar Jackson is just AFC Dak Prescott.
All right, hang on real fast. For starters, the Kansas City Chiefs added in legit speed this offseason. You get Marquise Brown and you get Xavier Worthy. I'm sorry. Like, that is a cheat code for Patrick Mahomes, who just has a piss missile of an arm.
So you think they're going to win the Super Bowl?
I think it's hard to bet against them right now.
I get it, but that's why I'm fading the notion of they're going to three-peat. It's too hard. If Brady and Belichick never did it, I don't think the Chiefs are doing it.
What I will say is I am not buying the Ravens this year. I'm not. I love Derrick Henry. I think that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Lamar to have to deliver. We know what he is as a passer. I like having the wide receivers that you do. I think that bringing in Nate Wiggins was a great addition in the secondary. I like what you have at linebacker. I like what you have at safety at Kyle Hamilton. I like what you have overall at wide receiver. I don't think it's that bad. The problem is that you lost multiple players on the offensive line. And I think that that's going to put more pressure on Lamar to have to maneuver outside the pocket. He's going to throw under pressure a lot more. He's going to be under duress. You're not going to see that same production in the ground game for Derrick Henry. So I'm not buying it. I there's something about this Baltimore Ravens team this year that feels like they could easily be 10-7. They could be 9-8. They could be 12-4. And when I have that many questions when it comes to the front seven and when it comes to their offensive line, I'd rather play cautiously optimistic and say, all right, prove it again this year, Lamar. Prove that you can be a 3-time MVP and actually deliver when it comes down to the crunch numbers.
I just don't view the Ravens as a legit Super Bowl contender until I actually see them do it in the playoffs, see this quarterback do it in the playoffs. I keep coming back to that. Now, I'm going to pull the odds back up here as we're live on the Jake Asman Football Show. If you're watching live, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We talk NFL football multiple times a week alongside Cole Thompson. My name is Jake Asman as we break down the state of affairs amongst the Super Bowl contenders. We're looking at the odds from BetUS. So without further ado, let me pull them up once again. We went through the first three teams on the list. This next team here, Cole, I think is absolutely a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They were just in the Super Bowl very recently, and that team is the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at their odds on the BetUS Sportsbook. The Cincinnati Bengals right now are plus 1,400. They're getting a lot of respect because of their quarterback. That's why the Bengals, who missed the playoffs a year ago, are as high as they are. They have the fourth highest odds to win the whole thing. This is a future bet I would place because if you're going to dethrone the Chiefs, the one team we've seen that's actually been able to do it against Mahomes has been Joe Burrow. So I like the Bengals. I'm on board with them being a legit contender. Your thoughts?
You already placed, I mean, you would make a bet on this game?
I would place a future bet on Cincinnati to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,400.
I already made a future bet. I 100% believe this. Everything that you see about this team screams that they can go right back into the Super Bowl. They can. And it's because they have the quarterback. When Joe Burrow is healthy, he is the one guy that has been able to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. And there have been games where, unfortunately, Kansas City still comes out on top. But it's not because of the quarterback play. It's because of a missed snap. It's because of a bad read. It's because of a horrible execution on special teams. It's because of a defensive formality. It's because Mahomes is inevitable. But you look at that wide receiver core. I mean, you didn't lose T. Higgins. You still have great tight end play with guys like Mike Gesicki coming on in, who I think fits this offense better than he fit in New England last year. Also, Jermaine Burton's going to be a steal. That guy is a vertical machine coming on in from the University of Alabama. Their defense is underrated. They really are underrated. When you look at the combinations of Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge, that might be the most slept-on defensive front in all the NFL. Their linebackers are great. Their secondary, it's a little young, but it still is really promising. And they also play a fourth-place schedule. So when you play a fourth-place schedule the way the Texans did last year, which is not getting brought up enough, they could easily find their way to the first-place seed in the AFC and run through the table. They're going to be fine. I immediately would hammer this bet down. I will not be shocked to see Cincinnati not only beat Patrick Mahomes, I won't be shocked to see them hoist up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year.
Other teams that are legit contenders in my mind, I still think when you have Josh Allen, the Bills belong in the conversation. I think I will probably have a list of about 10. 1 Niners, 2 Chiefs, 3 Ravens, 4 Bengals, definitely. Bills would be on my list. The Lions, who are in the NFC title game, the NFC is just not great. So if they get to the Super Bowl, they're obviously a contender at that point. Lions would be on my list at 5. Yay or nay to the Lions, Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're in agreement there.
I would go higher. I would say that they belong at 3. I would put them ahead of the Ravens.
Philadelphia Eagles, contender, yay or nay?
Yay, 100%. After yesterday adding in Jahan Dotson, I have no questions when it comes to the offense.
I agree. Cowboys, once again, I can't put they're a contender by the nature of the fact they're a 12-win team the last 3 years. I got to see it. Same thing with the Ravens. Like you can include the Cowboys, but would I ever pick them? No, because once again, I called Lamar AFC Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is the OG Dak Prescott. Until I see you in a conference title game, I can't pick you.
I'm not even touching them to go to the playoffs at all this year. I don't think that they make it.
Really?
I don't see it with Dallas. I have questions when it comes to their defense. What if you don't get Micah Parsons to show up? What if you don't get CeeDee Lamb to show up? You don't have the same offensive line. You lost Tyron Smith. Tyler Guyton is a really good replacement. Everything that we're hearing coming out of Frisco right now is positive surrounding him, or actually Oxnard, because they're just coming back from California. They like what they've seen with him as the new replacement. I like Cooper Beebe, the guard that they added in, who's now going to be playing center for them. They just know how to draft offensive line, but they don't have a run game. And as much as you want to go ahead and say that Dak Prescott played like an MVP last year, he's going to have to do it again this year just for them to be able to, I think, make it to the 17 format in the NFC. So I'm not buying it. I'm not touching this line. I don't think that they're even in the conversation. If you were to tell me right now, gun to head, pretender or contender for Dallas, easy pretender. I just don't see it this year.
I would agree. And look, they're going to be good. I think they're a playoff team. I disagree with you there, but yeah. I wouldn't pick them to win the Super Bowl. So you and I will not having Dallas as a legit contender, so I wouldn't put them there. Dolphins, for me, I can't put him on my list because Tua was 1-5 last year against teams with a winning record. I still have questions about his health. Everyone's talking about how he made it through the season. He's magically durable now. Like, I don't know about that. Let's see him do it 2 years in a row. And also, Miami has never won a game in cold weather with Tua. The first time they win a game this year when the temperature's below 45 degrees would be the first time they've ever done it. So I am out on the Dolphins being a legit playoff contender, Super Bowl contender, unless you tell me they're the 1 seed and they get all their games at home in Miami, which I don't think that's going to happen. So I do not view Miami as a Super Bowl contender. Your thoughts?
So that's the thing, is that if somehow they were to run the table through the AFC and get home field advantage, yes, I would say they are a contender. They have the offensive personnel. I think their offensive line is vastly underappreciated. I think that when you look at their running back room, I mean, they just added in Jalen Wright, the kid from Tennessee. Did you need him? No, but we wanted him. We wanted more speed. We wanted to make sure that there was no reason at all to put Tua under all the pressure. We can win with just a ground game and consistent passing. I think their defense, if they get back a healthy Bradley Chubb and a healthy Jalen Phillips, absolutely, they can be a contender. If they are the number 1 seed. If they're not the number 1 seed, no, I don't think that they will go to the Super Bowl this year at all.
We got a super chat that came in here, so we will talk about that for a moment. If you're watching the show live, hit the like button. It's the Jake Asman Football Show, where we talk all things NFL multiple times a week on the channel. Matthew with a super chat. Thank you for watching, Matthew. Appreciate your support. He checks in. He says, three-peating is very, very difficult. 49ers had maybe their greatest team ever in 1990, and they failed to even get to the Super Bowl. It's too hard, man. It is too hard to do. It's why, like, even though the Chiefs deserve to be the favorites, and until you knock them off, I get people just picking them, but it's why I would actually fade them because of all those reasons.
Well, let me ask you, would you move, if you were to move one team up and one team down, who would it be? Would you move Detroit up and maybe put them at number 2? Or would you still have Kansas City at 2?
I would still put Kansas City at 2.
That's fair.
Honestly,
okay.
I wouldn't even put the Niners at 1. I'd put Kansas City at 1. I just wouldn't pick them.
I just wouldn't pick them. Okay.
How are the Niners the betting favorite over the Chiefs right now? I think it's only because they're in the NFC. It's the weaker conference.
Well, yeah, and they're probably going to be able to have home field advantage. But what if they don't? And also, I mean, like, I get it because Ford Field is inside of a dome, so you're not going to be playing in the frigid environment of Michigan in January. But still, that's a fan base that comes out. They show support. They are always willing to deliver for that team. They're always willing to be the guys. They're always willing to be there for their franchise. They were when they were bad. So it's not a guaranteed win if you go to Detroit. So I think that, yes, they're the favorites because they probably have the easiest path to get the win. They also play in an easier division, in my opinion. You don't know what you're getting in Seattle this year because they have a brand new head coach. You don't know what you're getting in Arizona this year. They were arguably the best 4-win team last season. And you don't know if you're going to get Los Angeles fully healthy. And what's their defense now look like without Aaron Donald?
Yep. Totally fair. Let's get back to the Bet US odds here as we continue to break it down and discuss which teams actually could win the Super Bowl. We know who the betting favorites are. You guys all see that if you're watching live on the screen. But how many teams that are actually among the top 12, top 13 legit Super Bowl contenders? For me and you, we're both not in on Miami. Green Bay, though, I love it plus 1,800. If there was a bet to make, how about an exact Super Bowl? Rodgers versus Jordan Love, baby. Oh, yeah.
How would you be able to react to that?
I don't know, man. I mean, look, I'm not going to complain about the Jets in the Super Bowl, but could you imagine it's against the Packers?
It's against the Packers, and then but if he loses, are you going to be okay?
No.
Of course you will.
Of course I won't be okay, but, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo a Super Bowl appearance.
No, of course you're not.
I've never seen one.
But at the same time, you're literally going to be sitting there and you're going to be sitting there and just going, oh my God, how the hell are you this good? Because if Green Bay should not have this happening to them every 20 years.
I know.
Trading for a franchise quarterback.
Well, Jordan Love will be the Jet quarterback in 2038.
Well, exactly.
So I look forward to it.
Congratulations, because you already had Brett, you already had Aaron. You just got to go complete the trifecta. I like their defense. I think that they made some really good moves. The addition of Xavier McKinney, I think on the back end is going to do wonders for them. It's a massive upgrade from Darnell Savage from a year ago. Healthy Jair Alexander is a top 5 cornerback in the league. They have the most underappreciated wide receiver room because there isn't a legit number 1, but there also isn't like a bunch of 3s. That's what's so interesting about them, where Christian Watson can step up one game, Romeo Doubs can step up one game. I think that Bo Melton is actually a really good number 4 receiver that you want on certain plays. I like what you have in the tight end play with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgraves, and you may have upgraded at running back with Josh Jacobs. So it's less pressure, and you still have A.J. Dillon and a better offensive line.
Look, if Jordan Love plays anywhere like the guy he was the last 8 or 9 games of the season last year, they're absolutely a contender. I'm betting on the history of the Packers getting it right at that position. They already paid Love. I think they're a legit contender.
Let me ask you real fast. If you were to make the bet right now, Packers in the Super Bowl or Jordan Love MVP, which one would you take first?
Ooh.
Because I'm taking MVP for Jordan Love. I think that he absolutely lives up to this year.
I probably would take the Packers Super Bowl.
Ah.
Now, you get better odds on Jordan Love, though, than the Packers.
Well, because if you're going up against Patrick Mahomes and insert whoever's the next guy.
New York Jets. To me, they are a Super Bowl contender, Cole. Obviously, I am a Jets fan for those who watch the normal Jake Asman show, but I just look at it like this. They won 7 games the last 2 years without any quarterback. What wins in the playoffs? Defense, running game, and you have a quarterback who's won before. You have a quarterback who's been a Super Bowl MVP. If Rodgers is above average, I think Breece Hall could basically be what Terrell Davis was to John Elway at the end of his Hall of Fame career, getting him over the hump. So I look at all the factors that you have with this roster. And yes, there's some questions with the head coach because we haven't seen it. But talent-wise, how they play, the style they play, what you need to have to win, I think the Jets at plus 2,000 are in my bubble of Super Bowl contenders. What say you?
All right, buddy. Let me tell you, as your friend and as a non-Jets fan, you are a Super Bowl team. I truly believe it because of your defense. Look at last year. You had Beavis and Butthead as your starting quarterbacks, and you got 7 wins. You had arguably the best ground game in the NFL. You had arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You have a guy that is going to break out this year in Garrett Wilson. I'm hammering. I think he has a CeeDee Lamb type season. You have one of the best backup running backs that people are going to know in Braylon Allen. He's young. He's a muscle hamster. I like your tight end play. And honestly, I think that that's a good comparison. Terrell Davis was a big reason why the Denver Broncos were able to get over the hump. Trust your run game in the month of February and don't overthink it. If you do that, I think the Jets can easily win the division. I think they can easily get to 12 wins. I think they can easily win the Super Bowl.
How many teams are actually legit Super Bowl contenders? That's today's topic on the Jake Asman Football Show, presented by BetUS Sportsbook. Hit the like button if you're tuning in. Comments or questions. I'm seeing some of the comments here, people reacting to what we're talking about. Appreciate all the support. If you're not watching live, comment after the fact down below which teams, in your opinion, are legit Super Bowl contenders. So, Cole, after the Jets, we have the team in your market, the Houston Texans at plus 1,400. Would you consider the Houston Texans, after a 10-7 season last year out of nowhere, winning a playoff game, C.J. Stroud in the MVP conversation, forget just Offensive Rookie of the Year, are the Houston Texans, in your mind, a legit Super Bowl contender?
Are they a legit Super Bowl contender? Yes. Do I think that they will go to the Super Bowl? No. Here's the thing. They played a 4th-place schedule last year. They were able to go ahead and play against the NFC South, which was a dumpster fire. They're playing the NFC North, which is a much tougher competition. When you look at Jordan Love, what you have in Chicago, there has never been a number 1 overall pick in a better situation than Caleb Williams, that what he's walking into this year. Detroit still is one of the best teams. You're going to have to travel down the stretch. You have to go to MetLife on a Thursday night. You have to play 3 games in an 11-day period against 3 playoff teams. You're probably going to be 10-7. You're probably going to be 11-6 at best, and you're probably going to win your first playoff game and go to the divisional round. But it's so hard for me to say that even with the additions that they added in and the question marks that they have at defensive tackle and the question marks that they have in the run game, and what if the offensive line loses a Laramie Tunsil, they lose a Titus Howard, they lose a Shaq Mason, are they still that roster? It was a blessing in disguise that they got D'Amico Ryans. They didn't overthink it. They took CJ Stroud. They bet the line. They bring in Will Anderson, and they have a foundation. They will win a Super Bowl. I truly believe it. As long as you have Will Anderson, the Terminator, on one side and CJ motherflipping Stroud on the other, they will win a Super Bowl. I don't think it happens in 2024.
Cole, out of all these teams here, we went through the top favorites here. We gave you, I think, the first 12 or 13 by my math, but I'm also in Vegas and I've had a lot to drink, so I'm not going to do math because I don't have it in me right now. Of the teams we had not mentioned, so I'm cutting it off right here. If you're watching the screen at BetUS here, you see the line of demarcation for me is Houston. All these teams here I think are worth the discussion. I went through the ones that I actually think could win the Super Bowl and some of the ones that I'm not buying. But I defer to you now. From the Chargers downward, is there a team here in this bunch that I'm highlighting here on the screen that you think is actually a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, and you mentioned the Cowboys, and I told you before we did the show, I was going to move one off. I love the addition of what you brought in with Matthew Judon to Atlanta, and I personally think that with Zach Robinson now working with Kirk Cousins, it's a perfect fit Atlanta. I think the Falcons are legit going to make it because they've had the personnel. They have one of the best offensive lines. We talk so highly about Detroit's offensive line, the best in the business. A good silver medal is probably Atlanta. They know how to run the football. It is a very spread-oriented offense, similar to what you see with Sean McVay. I love what they have in terms of wide receiver. They went out and they spent money on Darnell Mooney. They went out and they still have Drake London. You have a weapon that basically is like Christian McCaffrey light and Bijan Robinson. You brought in Justin Simmons. You still have Jesse Bates. You just extended A.J. Terrell. I think that he rebounds now with Raheem Morris back in Atlanta. I think this is a really good team. They have the easiest path to go and win 12 games. They easily could be the number 2 seed in the NFC. And if they somehow are able just to force themselves in other matchups against, say, Philadelphia, which we don't know what they're going to be with the coaching. We don't know what maybe we're going to see with Dallas. We don't know what we're going to see with Los Angeles. They could find their way into the NFC. I absolutely love Atlanta at plus 9,000 odds. I will say it's hard to bet against Stafford too with the Rams. I think it's at plus 7,000 odds. I'd be okay with it. I'm not going to throw money down. I'm cautiously optimistic. But if you gave me one, I think Atlanta is that team.
The only team I would add that I could maybe see it. I don't love their roster. I don't love how dependent they are on some older injury-prone players. I could see Stafford and the Rams at plus 3,000 not being a terrible bet. No, that's the only team I would add. I'm not in on Kirk Cousins and the Falcons.
Fair enough. But okay, but hear me out. What if midway through the season, Michael Penix just arrives and kicks ass? And it's like Brock Purdy 2.0.
He's a rookie. I'm not buying it.
Of course you're not. But I agree with you. With Stafford, with Puka Nacua, I love the addition of Jordan Whittington. Kyron Williams, if he balls out again like he did last year. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. If they can replace the production lost by Aaron Donald in the pass rush, it's hard not to bet against them. It is. And they're going to have a manageable schedule with a second-place finish. So if you get healthy Matthew Stafford, I think for sure that they can make it to the NFC Championship. Am I buying that they're going to go to the NFC? I mean, that they're going to go to the Super Bowl? I'm not going to doubt Sean McVay. That's the only thing I can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, how many teams do you think could actually win the Super Bowl? Very quickly, I'm going to go through the teams, and I'll say yes or no. Niners, yes.
Yes.
Chiefs, yes.
Yes.
Ravens, yes.
Yes.
Bengals, yes.
Yes.
Bills, yes.
Yes.
Lions,
yes.
Yes. Eagles, yes. Cowboys,
no.
No. Dolphins,
no. I'll say no.
Packers, yes.
Yes.
Jets,
yes.
Yes. Texans,
Yes.
Yes.
And then I throw in Falcons and you throw in Rams.
Rams for me, yes. Falcons for you, yes.
Falcons for me, yes.
I mean, it's probably about 10 teams each.
I would say about 10. I think there's 5 in each conference that can walk away with victory.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 teams I think can win the Super Bowl.
I think I have 10 teams that can win the Super Bowl because I don't have Dallas.
Usually it's between 10 to 12, so we're right in that range.
Again, listen, I'll throw Miami in if they get the number 1 seed. But that's the way it has to go. You can't trust Tua in cold environment anywhere outside of South Florida.
Hit the like button if you're watching live. He's Cole Thompson. Cole, where can people find your work?
Go ahead and check me out at Mr. Cole Thompson. I do coverage for the SEC. I do coverage for college football. I do coverage for the NFL. Check out my YouTube channel at Mr. Cole Thompson. Check out my other YouTube channel at SEC Unfiltered, breaking down everything that you want for SEC football this upcoming season, and at Mr. Cole Thompson on Twitter.
BetUS is the sponsor of this video. All those odds we just went through, they're BetUS odds. So if you like any of our insight or disagree with any of our insight and you want to place a future bet for yourself, get it in over at BetUS. Use my link to sign up. and take advantage of their 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 with your first 3 deposits. That's all right down below or in the description for this video. He's Cole Thompson. My name is Jake Asman. Time to get back to some Vegas fun. Thanks to everyone who tuned in and watched the show. Subscribe if you haven't. This has been another episode of the Jake Asman Football Show.
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.